And what I hope is at the end of this, something may come up in our conversations that'll help all of us get through today, tomorrow, and the next day. So I got up and wrote some notes out this morning. So I'm actually going to work on a couple of notes here and talk to everybody. But what I wanted, I know we can't be successful if we first don't have our mind in the right place. Okay, we have to be in the right place mentally, and that means understanding that. About 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks ago, we went into a dark tunnel, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And there was nothing scarier than to be in the middle of the tunnel when we weren't sure if we could see light at either end of it again. I think we do see light at the end of the tunnel right now. But just like if we were in a tunnel on our bike as a kid, riding through the tunnel and coming to the other end, it's so bright and it's not quite yet in focus. And that's kind of what we're experiencing right now. We don't really know what this new world is going to be. Over the weekend, I read an interview with the president of Yum Brands, Taco Bell, and all these and other companies of that. And he said that consumer behavior had changed 3 years worth in 3 months, or what will occur over the next 3 months, that people have changed the way they're doing business and the way they view the world and the way they look at everything. I mean, think about since 9/11, none of us on this call have ever looked at an abandoned bag at an airport the same since, have we?
No.
And after the great financial crisis of 2008, all of us on this call have had a different view about personal debt and leveraging ourselves and leveraging our companies. And so these are the markers that are going to be with us the rest of our life. But what we don't know is exactly what this COVID crisis is going to leave us with. Essentially what's happened, and the way that I've looked at the daily news as we've gone through this, is I got in the middle of March, I stepped back and I said, what would one day look like at the daily news? What is someday? If someday we'll have this will be our delivery model, and this will be the products that we'll offer, and these are the people we'll have, and so I knew going into this COVID storm, for lack of a, I needed to take that rope and pull all the slack out of immediately and say, what's coming is going to be here now, and just do it and get it over with and get there and reboot and recreate the business best I could. So when we come out of the tunnel, we're not playing catch up, and we're not waiting to figure out what is happening. We're making cuts in the middle of this storm. And if you think about this from a sailing analogy, not that I'm Mr. Sailor, but I have been on a sailboat in the winds, and I do know when you run your business, you can look at it as your boat can go as fast as the wind is behind you. Okay, that's just if the wind is, I'm not going to use knots, but if the wind is 20 knots, you're going to go 20 knots. Or you can turn into the wind, and you can actually go faster than the wind. In America's Cup racing, some of those boats and those captains, they're designed with foils so they have less resistance. They can go 3 to 4 times the wind speed. Imagine that. Just by turning into the winds of change, they figure out a way to get ahead and go faster. And I think all of us with our businesses today need to look at that from that standpoint. Are we happy with just going along at the rate of the wind that's blowing, the rate of change? Or are we willing to turn into the wind and say, you know what? I want to go faster. I want to see what's out there, and I want to get there now. And there's only one other option, and that's dead wind. And if you've ever been in a sailboat, even if you were facing the wind and you got your boat turned sideways and the sails go flat, you're dead in the water. And it is so hard to get that boat moving again. And what we have to do is make sure that we are not in that dead wind zone as we come out of this COVID tunnel. Each of our businesses have to have a plan, already have a plan, and be turning into the wind right now so we can grow and be positioned to get in front of these new consumers and this new consumer behavior. Dead wind is essentially we're sitting in the middle of the street and we're not going anywhere, and that's the dangerous place to be. So we have two choices. We can just float along with whatever the wind speed is, 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and be at the beckon of whatever the world, or we can turn into that wind and we can go as fast and as far as we possibly can. And we can be in control of our destiny and not in the control of what the wind is doing to us. So that's kind of the mindset I took going into these last couple of weeks with the daily news. My philosophy is we're going to turn into the wind, and we did turn into the wind. We made a lot of changes here and made them fast. In 45 days, not only in Galveston, I also managed 12 other newspapers in Texas. In 45 days, we turned the business model upside down. Everything from where we thought we would be in each market, how many employees we thought we were going to need to get done, what we thought the market would be. We made adjustments to frequency. We made adjustments to products we had. We created new digital products. We created new sales programs. We turned into the wind, so at least we have the fighting chance to control our future rather than just let the wind decide where we go. So part of that has to do with making a decision about who we are now. I think going through COVID has changed everybody on this call. It has changed our hearts, and it has changed our souls, and it has changed the way that we look at our business and our relationship with customers. Your relationship, depending on your service, most likely got stronger with your customer as you went through this COVID crisis. You came closer to them. They needed you more, or they valued you more because suddenly there was this uncertainty, and you were there. And you built an emotional bond with them. As we come out of this tunnel, if you've done that correctly, now you have the opportunity to become a more important service part of their life and help them. Because right now people are literally drowning in information and messaging, and they're not quite sure where to go. And you need to fight for that space, to be that trusted resource, that trusted service, so that when they need something, you are on that short list. There are pieces where people are talking now about trying to eliminate certain, in my world, news sources. They really don't want 500 different opinions about something. They're beginning to be more selective about where they go, where they get their information, where they can trust to get their information. That's one of the wins that we've turned ourselves into, and have been working hard to communicate with our Galveston County community about everything about, for example, our COVID coverage. As soon as the COVID crisis hit, we took the wall down because we're a business. I mean, we're about 60 employees. Okay. I mean, we're not a giant business. We're 60 employees, and we have to make $1. And in order so that I can pay the sales team, so I can pay the editorial team, so I can create these products to help elevate our community. And so we have a paywall on our news site, which means if you're a subscriber, you can have all you want. We took the wall down and have had the wall down on COVID news since this whole crisis began. And then we reached out as we got further into it and had some discussions with UTMB, and found our good friend Ben and his team said, you know what, we'd be happy to step up and partner with you for a further window so that you can ensure and keep that going. And so they stepped up and helped sponsor underwrite in the spirit of educating our community about the risk and the damages and the changes that we deal with COVID crisis. And they've helped us deliver this to the community. So I can't thank them more than enough for that. But in this process, our engagement with our core readers is stronger than it's ever been before. Our print subscribers, we actually increased print subscribers recently. Our circulation revenue is climbing and growing. We have 20% more digital paid subscribers than we did a month ago. And our website, which is a paid website, which means it's not just a clickbait site. You actually have to have access to get into our website and read the stories, had over 3.5 million page views this past month. 3.5 million page views. It's a huge number. If we were a free site, that'd be a great number, but we're not. We're an audience of people with a shared interest in their community and what matters in their community. And they have assets, and they have interests, and they have children, and they're involved in nonprofits, they're involved in religious activities, they're involved in the chamber. And so we became this funnel because of the timing. And our goal is to continue to retain that role with our community, with our businesses, with our subscribers, and become a part of their life. And so by doing that, we had to step back and think about how did we want to turn into the winds, and what did we want to really make happen. So here's where we are right now. We're at a high point in engagement. I tell you what, Lord help us if we're 10 minutes late with a newspaper to most people's homes, okay? You know, we get phone calls, we get emails, my phone will ring. I mean, it's like being at the restaurant and your food's 10 minutes late. You're not happy, except they call us and say, where is my paper? They put ownership on, where's my paper? There's not many products where people use that pronoun and call it my paper. So we know that this engagement is there, and we've also seen the number of subscriber activity increase. We've also seen the opt-in on some of the tools that we now provide where you have to say, please send this to me, so that it's not spam, so it's not junk mail, has increased dramatically over this period of time. You know, right now we have what's considered one of the best newspapers in the state of Texas. And I know we can all have different opinions, but this is being judged by the Texas Press Association and the Associated Press this week, okay? One of the best newspapers in the entire state of Texas is right here on Galveston Island. Coast Monthly Magazine is considered the best magazine in the state of Texas by the Texas Press Association. Texas is a big place, okay? And the awards that we just picked up this week on the APME, we're the smallest newspaper in that category. We're competing against newspapers with 3, 4, 5 times the number of employees in circulation that we have. So we're really punching above our weight because, first of all, we have a great community to talk about, a great community to report and promote, and we do that, and we take it seriously. So we have all of these assets. So when we turn into the wind, what do we do with this? Well, we know people are thirsty for information. We know what they're becoming more discerning about information. Look, I'll never be able to win a battle with cat videos. I just won't, okay? Cat videos will always outnumber us when it comes to what people want to sit down and watch. But when they really do want to read some information, like today's talking about the potential for a property tax freeze in League City, every one of us on this call most likely is interested in what's going on with our property taxes right now because they're elevating at a high rate. And we're going into a window right now where the government also is going to need to be collecting as much tax revenue as it can because retail taxes and business taxes are dropping quickly on them. So they have a vested interest in protecting these property taxes, but those of us on the other end of the call, many of us find ourselves in financial uncertainty. And so it's going to become important for us to protect our future. So, you know, it's the little moments like this that really matter, that we become informed and not just get a property tax bill that shows up and says, oh, okay, here, please pay this. No, we need to become active participants in our community, and we need to be involved with people. This morning, there's a piece about how the Galveston County Food Bank is distributing food at Moody Gardens this weekend. Yeah, no, that's an important piece of information to people that may not have access to a news source that we have available, that we can send out to them, that we can provide them, that we can get the word out. Everybody on this phone call just heard about that if you didn't know about it. And there's a chance a good number of you are going to tell somebody else and then tell somebody else. And that's our role, is to become this constant trusted source. I mean, very few people say, I read on, well, they do say it, but you get the idea. I read on the internet that. Immediately think what goes through your head. What does that mean? It doesn't instill a lot of value and trust with people. It's inherent. It's like Abraham Lincoln, there's a joke Abraham Lincoln said, you can never trust anything you read on the internet. Okay, so what we're trying to do is make sure that we take this high level engagement we have in this growing audience of people that are coming to us looking for particular tools and solutions to their business and to their life, and make sure we pull the threads of our community more tightly together. One of the things that we're doing right now is, Gina, you had talked about, we've launched a program, a $250,000 set aside, where we are opening up to our local businesses and saying, you know what, in order to help you get back on your feet, we're going to match you dollar for dollar for the next 90 days on programs that you'll select to go through this window. So we're essentially, if we were a restaurant, we're going to say, you know what, if you're going to come here for the next 3 months, it's half price on us. Okay. So what, if Gina, if you came to me and said, I have 5, and this happened to me day before yesterday, somebody came to me and said, I would like to spend $5,000. So that means I'm going to get $10,000 of promotion and advertising. And I said, yes, that's how this works. And they said, okay, I'm in. So we know that, you know, and any business on this call understands that their advertising revenue or advertising budget is a percentage of their sales. And you take a portion of that. But if you've gone from, $10,000 a day in sales to zero, or at this point operating on 25% of capacity in your store, your advertising budget's going to have to be there. So we're taking, for a short term, taking a long-term view of what we can do to help our businesses get through this window. And these packages will apply both into the print, which is delivered right to the home where the person lives and buys cars and takes their groceries and makes all the financial decisions at the kitchen table, to our digital products that show up on the most valuable real estate on the face of earth, which is this phone sitting in front of me. And we have so many different new tools that we're developing, a new app that's coming out for the newspaper. We're turning into the wind, and we are not the same organization that we were 45 days ago. And I encourage you to look at your business the same way. You can either respond and adjust to what is here and what is coming, or you can find yourself dead in the wind. And I don't want that for anyone. I really don't. I don't want anyone to feel that way. So I also want to make one last point here. There are a lot of media choices out there right now. And it's easy to say, I'm going to advertise on Facebook and I'm going to advertise on Google. But there's also a fabric of community that we play. And last year, we donate, we turn around, and from the modest profits that we're able to create, contribute sums of money back into this economy. But besides, I have 65 people or 60 people with families that live in this community that we're supporting. Last year, we donated $10,000 to the Galveston Food Bank. The year before that, we donated $20,000 to
May 7th, 2020.
Nope, I'm getting some echo. We donated $20,000 to, every year we donate $20,000 to the United Way Fund, both the mainland and the island group. And we take care of Chris and we take care of Lindsay. And I challenge you to, when you've got that little league team that you're trying to get, when Mr. Bird goes around looking for somebody to sponsor the radio show or the little league thing, think of how many times Mark Zuckerberg has turned around and invested $10,000 or $100,000 in your community for a nonprofit to help the businesses that need your help. And that's part of being a social steward of your community. And that's something that's very important to us. It's very important to the person I work for, which is Lissa Walls. This is about taking care of our community while maintaining the business. This is not about how much money you can make. It's how well you can balance the goals of having a sustainable business that provides services and is important to your community. Look, I'll finish up with, this is the oldest newspaper in Texas, but it may very well be the newest newspaper in Texas right now. We started in 1842, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's sitting here in 2042. So that being said, I'm going to open this up and let everybody else ask any questions you have about it. This is really not a hard sell about the newspaper, but more my personal view of where we are, where we're going, and what I think we can all do together. So I'm going to turn this back over to Gina. If you have any questions or anything that I can do to answer, grab yourself a pirate flag, turn into the wind, and let's go win this for our community. Okay?
I want one of those pirate flags, Leonard.